Welcome to the Bloom Audio Headphone Cafe, where we take a break from keeping up with the latest and greatest and trying to keep up with the hottest items. Just sit back, have a cup of coffee, and talk about headphones. So grab yourself your own cup of coffee or tea or whatever you like to drink. Pull up a chair. The Kynera Norn is one of my favorite IEMs in around the $500 range right now. It's got a nice deep bass, good amount of impact that moves into balanced mids that do a good job of, giving you that sort of fun V-shaped sound without losing vocals or important details. And there's just this little bit of bump in the highs that I feel really hits an attack on drums, particularly in rock music, very well. So I really like them. I've recommended them to a few customers. And we've gotten some mixed reviews, one of which, to my surprise, is that they're too bright. So this got me thinking about a couple things. One, unit variance. The other is burn-in. Mostly thinking about burn-in, though. Burn-in is one of those things that's bound to start a heated argument no matter where you are, whether it's, online in a forum or whether it's, grabbing a drink after Can Jam. Everyone has an opinion on it, whether you swear by giving your headphones 100 hours before you really make a judgment, or whether you think it's all a bunch of bunk. And I find myself somewhere in between. I usually like to trust the science on things, but some of my own experience has led me to think that maybe burn-in is real. Now, in addition to being part of the online headphone community, I've spent quite a bit of time in fitness groups as well. And there's this concept in, fitness, whether in the gym or online, called bro science. Basically, bro science is the secrets passed from bro to bro about how to get really swole. Now, there's some of that turns out once they do a study on that subject, turns out that the bros were totally wrong and there's absolutely no evidence that any of it works. Sometimes it's somewhere in between where, maybe it's after workout protein shakes where there's some bit that supports it, but it's not really for the same reasons that your average gym bro would claim. And then there's some things that actually get confirmed once you look at the science. This isn't too different from some of the ideas in the audiophile community as well. There's a lot of ideas and wisdoms that have gone around for a long time that have been passed on, since the 60s and 70s when hi-fi really started becoming a big thing for listening to music. Some of those things we all accept as being truth now, and some of those things we're still debating. So it's not too different, and I think burn-in definitely comes into this category of maybe being a little bit like bro science. I've had this experience a few times now where we ship an IEM to a customer. It's something with a more V-shaped tuning typically, and they get it and they say, yeah, this is really bright, and where's the bass? Send it back, return it, and I take a listen to it and I say, man, this is a lot brighter than I remember it being. Then I just let it sit, plug it into a DAP or something, let it run by itself, not while I'm listening to it, while I'm working on something else. Maybe I've even let it run overnight listening to music. I get back and boom, there's the bass. And so after doing that a few times, I have to say, it makes me think yeah, this burn-in thing definitely has some merit to it. This happened to me specifically with the Kynera Norn I mentioned before. I don't want to go solely based on my experience with something like this. And I've heard a few counters to burn-in being real. One of them is the idea of ear burn-in, that the more you've listened to these IEMs or headphones, your ears just get used to them and they sound better because you got used to the sound. And I think that does happen a lot of times, in a lot of cases, with different IEMs and headphones. The other one is basically just saying that, well, regardless of what your experience says, the tests that have been done on various headphones have sort of demonstrated that there's no real burn-in. There's no change, no significant change in the frequency response. Maybe with some headphones, there's a change in the amplitude, but not actually in the frequency response. So therefore, these tests basically prove it doesn't exist. And looking through these tests, there's one thing I noticed, and that is it does seem like a lot of dynamic drivers do experience a change in amplitude over the course of the test after so many hours of burn-in. Now, even if they don't have any kind of change in the frequency response, the bass doesn't get stronger or weaker, the treble doesn't get reduced or anything like that. And I actually think that's where my experience with IEMs might have an explanation. And that is that when you have a multi-driver hybrid IEM, there's definitely a lot more physical movement of the dynamic driver than there is of the balanced armatures. So if there is some amount of burn-in that can occur with dynamic drivers in terms of an amplitude change, wouldn't it make sense that if the dynamic driver in an IEM is experiencing some degree of this burn-in, break-in, whatever you want to call it, while the balanced armatures don't because there's less physical movement involved in the driver, that would actually change the tonality of the IEM after some number of hours of listening and generate something resembling burn-in. So what do you think? Have you experienced burn-in with your own listening? Think it's just a bunch of audiophile bro science? Hop in the comments, let us know what you think, and of course, be sure to like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.